located towards the north of this hall. In case of fire or earthquake, security personnel shall escort you to the assembly area located at the open space northeast of the building. Should you need medical assistance, medical clinic is located on the 5th floor at rooms 5054 and 5056. For your convenience, the restrooms are located outside this hall towards the west. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much. At this point, we would like to announce that interpreters are available at select languages. Delegates may tune in to the channel corresponding to their respective languages. For the English language, select channel 1. For Chinese, select channel 2. For Japanese, select channel 3. For Korean, select channel 4. For Russian, select channel 5. So I repeat, English channel 1, Chinese channel 2, Japanese channel 3, Korean channel 4, and Russian channel 5. May I now recognize Chair, His Excellency Joe Abaya of the Department of Transportation and Communications, Philippines, for his opening remarks.
Fellow ministers from the APEC economies, delegates, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a pleasure to be with you today as we conduct the 9th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Transportation Ministerial Meeting, or TMMM-9, here in Cebu, the Philippines' Queen City of the South. Our economy is honored to host this event, which will address vital and relevant topics in support of APEC's goal to create greater prosperity for the people of the region. During TMMM-8 in Tokyo, Japan, on September 5, 2013, we were able to cover various topics under the theme Enhancing Connectivity by High-Quality Transportation in the APEC region. Today, I look forward to listening to the report by our colleagues from Japan on the progress special initiatives that we directed the APEC Transportation Working Group to undertake during that meeting. These are the Asia-Pacific Connectivity Map, the APEC Transport Vision, and the Compendium of Public-Private Partnerships for Investing and Implementing Transport Infrastructure. After Japan's presentation, the lead shepherd of the working group will update us on the other projects and programs that have been accomplished or are being conducted by the working group since the TMMA. Following this states, providing us with an overview of the results of two initiatives, namely the symposium and workshop on improving resiliency in global supply chains and the Women in Transportation Forum. These were held in the days immediately preceding TMM-9 proper in Manila and Cebu, respectively. We also have with us the chair of the APEC Business Advisory Council to deliver a report on the Council's current initiatives as well as ABAC's recommendations to ministers in relation to the transportation sector. In reviewing the issues and concerns being tackled by the working group and in our previous TMMs, the Philippines, as the TMM-9 host, took note of the emphasis given to ensuring that transportation services and facilities are accessible and convenient to the public while remaining reliable and resilient in the face of disasters and environmental and resource constraints. It is in light of this that we chose the theme Driving Economic Growth through Inclusive Mobility and Sustainable Transport, TMM-9. This is consistent with the APEC 2015 overall theme, which is Building Inclusive Economies, Building a Better World. Advancing inclusive mobility means addressing requirements of all, those of the vulnerable society, with disability. Improving mobility translates to increased productivity, which helps accelerate economic progress. Inclusive mobility would mean that everyone's needs are incorporated in the transport plans, programs, activities, and projects of their economies and of the region. Today, we'll be discussing how we can make sure that transportation systems are responsive to these needs. In addition to advancing inclusive mobility, we will also be talking about the need to develop sustainable transport. To accomplish this, we have chosen to highlight the enhancement of transportation safety and security, investment in resilient infrastructure, and the promotion of green technology. Finally, we realize the benefits of encouraging innovation in our transportation systems in order to address the evolving challenges encountered by the transport sector and to further improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our operations. During this meeting, we shall explore some of these innovations, particularly disruptive technologies, big data applications, and intelligent transportation systems. We have with us several expert speakers who shall be giving presentations on the topics I have mentioned. It is our and working group levels. We are also honored with the presence of Dr. Alan Bollard, the Executive Director of the APEC Secretariat. I invite Dr. Bollard to deliver his welcoming remarks and to discuss some guidelines reminders for the day's proceedings. Dr. Alan?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to talk briefly. What I'd like to do is really help put this discussion in the context of the broader APEC system. Some of you know that very well. Others, this will be your first time. APEC is a large and complex organisation. It's been running for a quarter of a century. It started off focused in on reducing tariff barriers and then non-tariff barriers at borders, and then doing a lot of trade facilitation work, red tape around borders, and then realising the need to move in behind the borders and do behind the border liberalisation, regulatory reform, business facilitation, and then over the last decade, recognising the way that the private sector had been taking advantage of some of that opening up to develop supply chains. There's been a lot of focus on regulation and reducing bottlenecks around supply chains, which are aiming to go across borders, not necessarily through traditional mechanisms. And we've had some of that discussion in the dialogue this morning. The Secretariat is in Singapore, and we aim to keep this complex connection of transport and many other parts of APEC together, and to ensure that the direction we get top down from leaders and from ministers is getting a resonance with the bottom up from the working groups. We have 40 or 50 technical working groups in APEC. You'll get a presentation today from the Transportation Working Group. The Transportation Working Group and the other working groups respond to the directives from the ministerial meetings. Last year's Transport Ministerial meeting, sorry, two years ago ministerial meeting in Tokyo, we'll be having a presentation from, and you will hear what the directions that were given at that stage. What I would like to emphasise, though, is again something that came out from the business dialogue this morning, which is transport doesn't stand alone. It stands together with many other complex parts of the cross-border process. And we try and ensure that there are cross-cutting themes that are delivered right across the board, and that the other relevant working groups are also understanding what's going on from transport, and you're hearing what's going on from them. So, for example, we have a customs working group, we have an electronic commerce working group, we have an internet economy working group, we've got a data working group. They're all ones that have to tie in very closely to the transport work which continues. And we've been doing a lot of work on infrastructure and people mobility. And cross-cutting areas, many of you will have come into the Philippines on your APEC business travel card today. That's a standing example of successful thing that APEC has done. We're trying to identify and reduce bottlenecks around supply chain management. There's a lot going on around harmonisation, integration, interoperability, trying to make these systems work together, whether it be at customs level, whether it be single customs windows, authorised economic operators, trying to ensure we've got data systems and processes that work together right around these 21 quite diverse economies. Your conclusions will come out obviously today in your ministerial statement, and we'll be taking that through to the leaders at the end of the year. So it's only a month and a half away in Manila that economic leaders from the 21 economies will come together, and they'll have a big statement there. And what's important is that they pick up the transport themes that are of general importance right around the area where, after all, we're trying to change lives and lead to economic advancement in the APEC region. Last year has driven prosperity around this region. Trade growth has actually slowed down considerably over the last 5-7 years. And in doing that, China picked up some efforts that had been made the year before from Indonesia on infrastructure, connectivity blueprint, joining things up. We know transport's right in the middle of all of that. This year, Philippines has put an overall theme across APEC of inclusive economies. So how, by doing these things, can we ensure that we're actually spreading the benefits of economic advancement right through communities? Next year, Peru, whether there's any indications about how those themes may be brought forward, and I'm sure capacity building will be an important part of that. Chair, thank you. I should hand back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Bollard. Let us now proceed to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any comments or objections to the latest provisional agenda? As there are no comments or objections, the agenda is considered approved and adopted. We approve and adopt the So it has been approved and adopted.